We are here just in time with our ESSEN most anticipated list. First off, this is not a list in any particular order. That's not true. It's just not in a countdown order.
Sure.
But we did give some thought to the order that we were going to present these titles, but it doesn't mean any are better than others, but we're anticipating all of them.
Yeah, pretty evenly, honestly. This is a big ESSEN.
It is a banger year. I find we say this a lot of years, like, wow, it's really been a great year for games, but man, there are some great games this year.
I mean, we don't say that every year. I distinctly remember some years saying this wasn't a banger year, but this one was.
I often do, but this one has been, and it looks like it will be even more so because of these ESSEN releases. Now, before we get to our list, and we're going to give you 10 of them, we've got some honorable mentions that we'll mention at the end, but we also have some not honorable mentions, but actually just also rans, I guess, if you will. These are games that we've had some experience with and we've covered on the channel. That's probably the big key factor.
Played them a few times.
So our anticipation isn't exactly what it is for some of these others because we've played them less or not at all. But these are games that you should be anticipating just as much as any of the 10 that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Those are
down that list.
Yeah. Ants is one of them. This is one from Cranio Creations, follow up to Rats of Wistar. This game takes it's a very different game than Rats of Wistar, but it feels also somewhat similar in some respects. I think if I had to pick one, I think I'd pick Ants.
Oh, I'd pick Ants hands
over
down.
Rats, although I do like Rats, and I think Rats is getting an expansion.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, Ants is a really interesting game, tableau building to the nth degree. Another one that we have is Covenant, which we've actually put content up.
Played that one quite a few times now.
Ryan has. Still
love it. I mean, it's still right up there. Game of the Year contender. I'll spoil that now.
Really?
Yeah, when this one comes to the U.S., I think just get it. This is the guy that did Bitoku. He's done several other great games. It was fun. It was, he did Man Nefer last year, which was one of my games of the year. So, yeah, I mean,
how does this compare to Man Nefer?
It's more similar to Man Nefer than it is Bitoku in that, like, you've got almost like these little mini games, these little areas of the board that you're kind of interacting with in a little bit of a different fashion. It's a little bit more interconnected maybe than Man Nefer was, for sure, but it's great.
Another one is Sanctuary. This one is going to be huge. This is sort of in the Ark Nova world, but it's a very different game. It's tile laying. We had a chance to play this for the first time back at Gen Con. Then we got a copy of it right after, and we put up, I think, a couple videos. We did an overview video, and I think we played it as well. So if you want to know anything about that, take a look. But it's going to be a giant ESSEN release. Another one is Echoes of Time, which we just put content up on the channel very recently for. This is another tableau builder from Cranio, but it's got this like timing mechanism with this conveyor belt that makes it very interesting because the conveyor belt in front of you kind of acts as this sort of delayed playing of a card. You got to
like a timeline,
put it on there, and then eventually it gets into play. So there's some interesting thought there. And then finally, Peak Team Rangers, which, depending on when you're watching this, we may or may not have content up on the channel, but we do have a video coming if it's not up already. This is a co-op from Scott Elms. I've had a chance to play this a little more than Ryan. And it's a really interesting co-op, fresh kind of perspective, and a little trickier than you might expect. The cool twist, or not twist, but the cool thing about it is it kind of levels up. You can start at level 1 and go up to level 5. And as we said in our video, you kind of want to do that. You don't necessarily want to just put it all in like Ryan typically wants to.
Mean, not for that game. It gets a little too hard.
But those are sort of the just as good, but ones that we've already played and put content up on the channel.
Yeah, if you want to learn more about those, you can watch our videos. Otherwise, I think everything else that we're going to talk about today, we haven't done content. Now, post-ESSEN, we're going to try to cover as many of these as possible.
We will.
Over the next, couple months.
If we get them all.
If we get them all.
We don't have them all.
Fingers crossed. We don't have, in fact, we don't have most of these at this point. I know a lot of people overseas do, so there are some videos out there on some of these games already, but these are 10 games that I am all like hyped up for, super hyped for.
One of which we do have, and I'm going to go ahead and say, I know we didn't say this is an ordered list, but I think this will be probably at the top of a lot of people's lists for ESSEN releases, and that's Orloi. We have that one. I have not yet played it. We have not done content. Ryan's actually played it a couple times.
Yep, twice. Yeah.
So lay it on us.
I mean, okay. First of all, this is one of the most beautiful games I think we've seen come out in a while.
In a Euro-y way.
In a Euro-y way, and it's super thematic. It's based on this Prague astronomical clock, which I had heard of, but I didn't know much about it. After playing this game, I felt like I needed to go research it because everything about that clock is represented in the game. You're like refacing it, but the whole mechanism of the game is like the clock wheels are turning and you're kind of trying to line them up, and you can like break gears to like make the clock spin backwards. And it's basically constantly moving and changing, but your goal is to line up two actions that you want so that when you place your worker in one of the slots, you get two actions that are like really that work well together. But you're not always going to be able to do that. In fact, often you won't, and you're just going to take maybe one action that's not so great in order to take the action you really want to take. And all those actions, like it's very smart, and the way that everything is interconnected is good. Like it's very crunchy. There's some combos to it.
Yeah,
it's very thinky. You really have to plan ahead. There's a lot of race elements to like who can get to some of these pieces first. It's got tableau building. It's got the worker placement. There's a little bit of rondel happening. Like there's
a lot
of mechanics, but it works perfectly. Your turns are like, I mean, if you got the guy that like needs to, try out 20 different options, but generally speaking, your turns are pretty quick and the game itself isn't that long either.
Yeah. And this is from, I think, Paraloco.
Yeah.
Who also, I think didn't they do Phoenix New Horizon?
Oh, Phoenix New Horizon last year.
I believe.
But these are pretty new designers on this game.
They are new designers.
Which is wild.
I will say this in general, but it kind of comes up while we're looking at these ESSEN titles. So many new designers in the last couple years kind of coming out of the woodwork, and some just making big names for themselves. The next one we wanted to talk about is Bohemians. This interesting story. This and Age of Galaxy, both, I believe, were supposed to be Gen Con releases. They didn't make it here in time, or they couldn't make it in time. So now they have both become ESSEN releases. And we had Age of Galaxy a few weeks ago. We very recently got Bohemians. I haven't played it. Orion hasn't played the hard copy of it yet, but you played it on BGA, right?
Yeah, and I read the rules, put it on BGA. It's interesting. I mean, it's cool. It's an interesting theme, I'll say.
It is.
Like you are what they call bohemians. You're creatives, you're artists or poets or whatever, going about your day to day. And it's a deck building game. You're going to be, you start with this basic deck. You're going to be adding cards to this deck. But what you're doing is like laying out a tableau of cards as you're playing them that connect. And there's these little icons that connect. And if you connect them, you get some bonuses. But at the end, you're kind of like, the game even says like, tell the table the story of your day. Now that's optional. If you want, you can kind of like, hey, I went to the store and then like I decided to write for a little bit. Then I worked on my music, but it is kind of a tableau builder. You've got those cards you're placing. You've got these muses, your inspirations, and then you've got like these tasks, just like stuff that you have to do that comes up in life that you have to like to deal with, and you have to work. Like there's turns when you're playing your cards, you have a job. And you can add your job into one of the slots on your player board. And if you don't, you take a penalty. So there's some days where you're just like, I'm going to skip work today and work on whatever my creative effort is.
Interesting.
But then other days you're like, I need to go to work. I need to make sure that my job tile gets played. And the job tile is worse than a card, generally speaking. Yeah. So like you're suffering a little bit, but it's that, you're still matching these icons and you're getting some bonuses for these icons you're matching. And then every card has an effect, kind of like what you'd expect in a deck builder. There's scoring cards, there's points on them. Like you're constantly buying new cards and building up your deck.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot. It's always shocking to see how many designers take tried and true mechanisms and kind of play with them. We saw with Dirt and Dust as a deck builder.
Yeah.
This is a deck builder. It sounds like there's also some tableau building.
A little bit of tableau building. You had your muses and stuff.
But it's a very different take on it and a very different theme for sure.
And this one. Very different theme. It's very simple. Like just going about your day, which is interesting.
Would you say it's a
for
medium
deck
game?
It's definitely light? It's medium light. Like it's pretty easy to understand. There's like an Atelier board, which like you can use and like you can move your token and then like spend some of that to get some bonuses, which adds like maybe a little bit of thinkiness on top of like just the deck building. But I wouldn't say it moves to like anything heavy.
Well, the next one is probably a little heavier, although I don't think terribly heavy. It's probably going to be medium plus.
Medium plus, I would say.
This is Recall. This is from some of the same people behind the game Revive. And when I first saw this, I went, oh, is this Revive 2, if you will? And from what I've heard, and we haven't played this one, it is not like Revive gameplay wise. It is a very, very different game. And I think from what I've heard, it's a heavier game than Revive. And I would put Revive squarely in the medium plus range. So this is a little heavier than that. Plays very differently, but it is, I believe, set in the same world.
It is. I mean, in that aspect, it is almost like a sequel. Like,
yes.
Revive was you're coming out of the hole and repopulating.
It's
a successor,
if you will.
It's a thematic. It continues the story of Revive. You're out of the hole. You started to repopulate. Started to build cities, and now I don't know. Recalling.
What are you trying?
I don't know
recall?
what you're recalling.
Probably not the better times.
Probably recalling like the old, like it's a lot about old technology and stuff is built into that.
And it does
old
have
knowledge.
It does not just the theme, but it has a lot of the same sorts of things that you do, but you're doing them in a very different way. So the concept of exploration, discovery, and moving around. If you looked at the board too, and you saw that there's from the same people, you'd think, oh, is this just like Revive?
It plays absolutely different.
It looks very similar in many, many respects, which also is a very good thing because I think Revive, they do Revive, Saltfjord, their graphic design, particularly on Revive and that player board, as we've had discussions on the channel here about, is gorgeous.
Well, they kept that same kind of look for this one as well. That same like sci-fi-ish, retro sci-fi look to everything.
The next one we want to talk about is from one of those designers that I was kind of alluding to earlier, and this is Tomas Holik. He did Galileo Galilei last year,
Tea Garden,
and SETI.
Yep.
He had those 3 last, Destin. Does he just have 1 this year? 2, 3? I think he has like 5 or something.
Well, he has like 2 main games coming out. This is one of them.
Aquaria.
The other one is not on our list, but it's Pawnscape.
Pawnscape
is the second major game.
Spoiler alert, will be one of our honorable mentions.
Yeah, and then he has a bunch of, all 3 of those other games are all getting expansions at ESSEN2. So...
Oh, and he has a game that just launched on
GameFound. He did below. Just launched on GameFound. So like he's been pretty busy for a guy that had almost nothing before. Like if you look at his prior credits, it's like one game that wasn't, I don't think, ever printed in English. So big year for him. And Aquaria, I mean, all of his games so far have been great.
Yeah, this is like the Wolfgang Warschaf effect.
Right.
Where it's just like all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah.
Here's all of my games. I traveled back in time with all of these designs, and here they are. But yeah, this one, Aquaria, we haven't had a chance to play. And that's shame on us because we've had this game for about a month and we just haven't been able to get to it.
You get a lot of games.
But it has a lot of really interesting mechanisms and all these like turning dials that have these things going on. But you're building kind of a tableau, but a grid of these.
I thought you were going to say building an aquarium.
Well, you are building an aquarium, placing fish in this aquarium. And doing all the same sorts of things. You know, you're trying to get fish organized in the right sort of fashion. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it has some things in common with Pawnscape a little bit because same designer.
Sure.
And that felt a little...
Like a lighter aquaria?
Definitely a lighter aquaria because there's definitely more Euro mechanics going on here. But it looks gorgeous. And I want to say, again, I'll correct myself if I'm wrong down here. Capstone is bringing a lot of these games over here. They're definitely bringing Aquaria. I think they might even be bringing Pawnscape over to the States. Yeah, they're doing a lot of games with them. That
feels like their style game.
But some of the same publishers over there who Thomas is working with quite a bit. The next one I'm going to let you talk about again. Okay. Ryan did most of the research on these titles, but this is AR. All I'll say is this is from the same sort of series as Sankore.
The third game, yeah.
It's the third game. Sankore, what was the first one? Merv, Sankore, in this one. I played Merv once. I was okay on Merv. Sankore, I liked a lot.
Yeah.
Although it's a pretty beefy game.
So is this.
It's a fair amount of game. This one is a lot of game, and I was taking a look at the board. And if you look at the board,
you might have a little bit of a reaction.
There's a ton of tracks, and it's not just vertical tracks or horizontal tracks. It's just
they go all around,
all over. The whole board is coded in these tracks, and the action mechanism is interesting because you're doing things on a very as complicated looking player board to in effect move along one of those tracks and then use the power, one of the powers behind wherever you are on that track.
Right. Well, so to bring it back a second, like this is the historical series is what this is called. Like each one of these games has been based on something like historical, cultural. This is Children of the Sun. This is the AR, or we're like in the Incan mythology, the people that founded Tuantansuyu. So they're these pairs, and they would travel together, but slowly they all turned to stone. And the last one left, the last AR pair left, were the ones that founded Tuantansuyu.
Oh.
So those tracks are the tracks that the AR are following as they move through the Incan world. And you, as players, control their movement. So all those tracks, it might look like a lot, but they're just like paths that these AR are following. And on your turn, you get to choose which AR moves. And then, yes, you get to take actions. There's all these icons. It looks like Tuantansuyu.
Yes.
Which we talked about, which is funny.
Well, and it behaves in some respects because the game Tuantansuyu, a lot of the actions you're taking are on the main board.
Yeah, a lot
you
of the
kind
icons.
of like manipulate things out there and take actions on there. And I said to Ryan, I was like, oh, it kind of reminds me of Tuantansuyu. And he said, well, as a matter of fact, thematically, it has much in common with that.
It does have a lot in common with that in the Incan Empire. But the hook, I guess, I haven't played it yet, but the thing here is like, just like in the myth, the air will turn to stone. The farthest ones back will turn to stone, and then you'll score some of the things that you've done on their track, and then that track is done. So then you have one less pair. I think the game only plays over like 4 rounds or something. And then every time you're scoring points, you're scoring on like this moon and the sun track. And at the end of the game, you're scoring whichever is the lowest. So it's one of those things too, where you're like getting points in different ways, but you have to get points in all the ways. You can't just focus on one. You have to find that balance.
You have to do it all. Can't I just do one thing? Can I just do one thing once?
I mean, it sounds really, I liked Sankore a lot.
Yes.
And I like his other.
But it's a lot of games.
This guy's on this list. Fabio's on this list at least twice. So obviously he's a big designer. Designed another one of my favorite games this year, Shackleton Base. So I'd play anything he does.
By the way, speaking of big designers, the next game is from, could it be the biggest Euro designer?
The OG?
The OG, Uwe Rosenberg. And this one is Garden Lake. Now, this game is not a big heavy. We're not talking like, Feast for Odin level.
Right. Well, he does both, right? It's kind of he's a weird designer. He's all these small tile placement games, and then those giant
he uses
epics.
those tile placement designs inside its bigger Euros. This is one of the ones that's more of just the tile placement. So you're placing these tiles, and the one thing I want to point out here, and I actually, when I was looking at this, I was like reminded of New York Zoo.
A little bit.
It plays very differently, but the tiles, there are some really weird and wild tiles.
Patchwork had some weird
Patchwork has some weird ones. This one has some very weird tiles. Like I've never seen a tile that like goes all the way around with a hole in the middle, but not in one corner. Like it's very interesting tiles. But you're placing them on your board and trying to kind of cover up some of the areas, and when you do, you can get bonus tiles that like help you fill in other areas. And then there are areas that you kind of want to surround, and when you do, you get like a better, I don't know if they're scoring tiles, but sort of like this special bonus tile. This looks pretty low key. It's not, this is going to be a lighter game, in the sort of the vein of Patchwork and New York Zoo and things like that.
I've heard it can be kind of mean.
Yes. So that's Board Gaming Ramblings has a video, and they said it was pretty, like, I don't know if they use the term mean, but it felt that way a little bit from what they were saying.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of Rosenberg's games, and I do love his heavy games, but man, I'll go back to Patchwork anytime.
It's been a while since I've played Patchwork.
I've played quite a bit of Patchwork on BGA.
I did like New York Zoo quite a bit. It was I like the drafting of the tiles. I don't think this one works that way.
No, it's different.
The next one we want to talk about, aside from Orloi, I think this one will likely also be one of the biggest games of the show.
Probably.
And that is Forestry. This one is coming from Pink Troubadour. These are the people who did Galileo Galilei and some of those games. This is one of those publishers. Them and Paraloco, I think the last couple years have come up with some pretty significant titles.
Oh, well, for sure. They've had the hits of ESSEN, probably, I'm guessing, 2 years in a row, because I think they're going to take it by storm this year as well.
Yeah, Forestry, first of all, as soon as I saw this board and the player boards on the table, I thought, man, they nailed this. I don't know what it is about the color choice, the color palette, the graphic design. This just screams to me in terms of wanting to be played. It's an action point system. So there's a lot of different actions you can take, and a lot of them cost different points. And it's also, from what we've heard, again, thank you, Board Game Ramblings, because we've done some research. They've played it. We haven't yet. It can be very tight. So the action point system starts you at 3 points, and you can get as much as 6, like naturally by upgrading them. But you could also spend money, I think up to twice or something like that, to do an extra action each sort of turn around or something, each turn. But if you're not, it's 3. And some of those things could be, I'll do this action for 2 of my points, and then I'll move for 1. And that's it. It sounds like one of those games that you're going to have to get good at to build. But I think even if you're great at it, it's always going to ramp. Because at the beginning, you're not going to have much more than that. And my guess is getting up that track to increase your actions, but also more importantly, having enough money to pay for the bonus actions is probably where it's going to feel really, really tight.
Yeah, and those... I haven't played this one either, but I have looked at it, just like you said, and I don't want to keep comparing games to Orloy, but like this one also, I mean, it looks beautiful to look at.
It looks different. It's different, very different than Orloy.
But it's a similar, like...
It's like a modern Euro.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks really good. It's just something about, you're right. Something about it when you look at it draws you in, makes you want to play it. And I know we know this one's coming out from Capstone as well, right?
Yes, this is Capstone. Capstone's bringing...
That'll be quick.
If there's one publisher who is on the spot with like the big Euros that come out at Essen, Capstone is in there trying to gobble them up.
They got some competition these days from Devere. I mean,
That's true. Devere's picking
up some of those too. So,
but yeah, Forestry is going to be a big one. I think that and Orloy will be sort of the stars of the show. The next one I want to talk about, I'm going to let Ryan talk about. This is Baghdad. I know a little bit about it, and it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, it does.
This is from Alley Cat?
This is from Alley Cat. This is Baghdad City of Peace, and I said he'd be back. This is the other one from Fabio. But this is back with Nestor Mengone. I hope I pronounced that correctly because I say his name a lot. Right? Well, yes, but also together they did Shackleton Base, which I absolutely love. They did Autobahn as a team. So they're back together again. Love these guys separately, but together they've not failed to impress me so far.
They did Autobahn together.
That
was what, 3 years ago?
That was a few years ago.
That was one of your most anticipated.
And it ended up being on my Game of the Year list. I love Autobahn. This one is a giant rondelle that makes up the city of Baghdad, and you're basically building Baghdad. Like you're putting pieces on the board to rebuild the palace that's in the center, but you've got these giant chunks. They call it like a mega rondelle. Like you're literally like you're moving the pieces all the way outside of the board, but it almost feels is it Viscounts? Maybe Viscounts of the West Kingdom, where you're putting cards onto a tableau and you're pushing other cards out, and then you're always kind of looking at the icons that you have available on the cards that are there. So like every turn you're like shifting that tableau, sliding new cards out, you're getting new icons available to use, and that's going to power a lot of the actions that you're taking as you're moving along this rondelle.
I see. Yeah, Viscounts was.
I thought it was
big round.
Well, yeah, but I just meant the tableau of the way the tableau. But it did also. You're building you have the castle in the center. This one has the palace of Baghdad.
Works that way a little bit too, right? Doesn't it?
Yeah, there's so many. They might all kind of work that way, but that's the idea. Is like
games.
You're constantly adding cards. Like you're constantly cycling, so you're going to be better at different things throughout the game. Unlike Autobahn, this is probably more, maybe even a little lighter than. Maybe it's the same as Shackleton. Shackleton feels heavier, I think, because you have all those different corporations that can change the game.
Yeah.
But this is not going to be. Autobahn is pretty heavy. This does not. I haven't played it. It doesn't feel as heavy as Autobahn.
No, it doesn't. Autobahn, I never played Autobahn, but it seemed pretty heavy.
Autobahn is a brain burner. You play that, you just like, yeah, that challenges you.
This next one, also from the designers, or some of the design team and some of the same people involved with the publishing of things like Revive, Recall, Sulfurd. And this one is Fortunes of Scoundrel Bay.
Yep, Fortunes of Scoundrel Bay.
And who doesn't like a pirate game?
Well, and this is like fantasy pirates, which is this is like we had Maracaibo, which was like maybe the best pirate game of film.
Or Pirates of Maracaibo.
Or Pirates of Maracaibo, which is very good. This is like the version of pirates that you have in your head, where they're out there like fighting monsters and raiding ports and fighting each other.
Fantastical.
Wait.
Yeah. And
Well
it's
said.
so you've got this big board with this map that you're moving around doing all sorts of different things. The game mechanisms are really interesting because you have these 3 actions you can take with this little action marker down the right-hand side of the board. And when you choose an action, you're going to generally, I think, play a card. So you're going to take an action to recruit a pirate. You're going to put that down below your board. And then the other 2 actions let you sort of more interact with the main board where you're playing a card next to it and using different parts of the card for the various different types of actions. So it does seem like there's multi-use cards
for
here.
sure.
I love multi-use cards. So I'm not sure how much of a decision, how often you'll be like really going, oh, I want to use this for this, but not for that. I'm not sure if it involves that level of like tension in the multi-use,
since
but it
it's
does.
Some of the
definitely have it.
revived guys, I bet it does. I mean, this is like the heavier Pirates game, but the actions that you're actually doing are fun. Like you're digging up treasure on islands, you're raiding ports,
It's
you're attacking
pirates.
other players,
Yeah.
but you're fighting monsters too. There's all these monsters over. So it almost feels to me very like sandboxy. Like you've got the sky's the limit to what you can do. You talked about this earlier. I don't think this is a game where you have to do everything. I think you can just like, I want to be the monster killer guy. I want to go around and kill all the monsters, and that's where I'm going to get my
This
points.
sounds like my kind of game. I will say too, when I saw this box, I would not have guessed it was from these people.
No,
it
reminds
does
me of
not
Dead
look,
Reckoning.
even
the artwork.
Oh, really?
A little bit.
This artwork looks like a dungeon crawling game about pirates.
Oh,
to
sure.
me. Like it's like
And-
it looks like a poster for an old pirates movie,
which is cool.
it is cool. It just very much doesn't look like
Sure,
their
it doesn't
type
look like a
of game.
Revive style experience. That level of Euro.
Now we've come to the last spot, and I said this wasn't a countdown, but I do think that this might be my most anticipated because it is from one of my favorite designers of all time,
Yeah,
Stefan Feld, and this is Druids of
Adora.
Edora. I think we're
Could be
pronouncing
Edora.
that correct. Edora. Druids of Edora. This one's been on the hotness for about the last week
Yeah,
or so.
ever since it was
on
announced.
BGG. It's from Aaliyah and Ravensburger. We'll probably be bringing it out over here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much about this. There's very little information that's in English, if any, in this game. And I didn't
Just some
go to the
pictures.
trouble of learning German or French to watch any of the videos. But it's a dice placement game that and it's Stefan Feld. Like there's really not much more that I would need to say or hear to want to get this game. This is probably, and I'm going to Essen for my first time, by the way. If I have time to run around and pick up games, this is going to be one that I'm going to try to get if it's there. By the way, we should caveat this one and say the Essen list doesn't suggest that this is going to be on sale.
Oh, is it not? I thought
It doesn't
I thought
say,
it was.
but there's no price listed, I don't think. All I do know is that it's slated for release before the end of the year. So if they have copies there, I'm guessing they will sell it, but I don't know.
I hope they do.
We're not sure. Well,
This one, I'm a big Feld fan too. This reminds me more of Bonfire, I think, than like Civolution, right?
It looks for sure. It looks more like a Bonfire.
Like it looks like it
type
could
of
even be
game.
set in the same world as Bonfire.
It does kind of
Like
look
the
that
artwork.
way.
I mean, maybe they use the same artist. I don't. Again, we haven't seen a ton. We don't have this one, like you said. So, what I pieced together from looking at it on BGG.
Yeah, I mean, it's based on dice placement, but there's also like one of the things I noted. It looks like there's not miniatures, but molded plastic pieces, which is kind of a different thing for a Feld, and
sure.
it's certainly a Feld with Aaliyah.
But I'll play any Feld game, 100%.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm very much looking forward to this. I think I can't remember his last game that he released with Aaliyah. Was it the one that was like Castles of Tuscany? Remember when he did that one?
Oh, was that Aaliyah?
Yes.
That might have been
And
the last one.
I will say this about that one. When that one was coming to us, and I was like, it was a kind of a lighter game for sure. It was
super
definitely with the name Castles in it. I think everyone was like, "Oh,
Yeah, another Castles of Burgundy
successor to
sequel?
Castles
No.
of Burgundy." It was kind of a different experience, a lighter. It was still decent, but it was a different sort of game. I'm looking forward to trying this one.
too.
Hopefully, it will be of the weight of more like.
I hope we get
Bonfire.
all 10 of these, but I really hope you do bring that one back.
I don't know. I am taking 2 suitcases.
There we go. That's what you got to do.
And by the way, we'll move on to our honorable mentions because one of them is associated with why I'm going there. If you watch the channel, you may have heard I do work for CMON, and one of the games that I want to mention. So full disclosure, take this with a grain of salt, but I will tell you, I love this game. We have a number of games that are going to be available at the CMON booth at Essen, but one of them is called Collect. It's this one. If you saw me at Gen Con, I probably asked you if you wanted to play it. I love this game. It is from the designer of Faraway, and it is I would say it's definitely a more family weight. It's a more accessible game than Faraway. It plays very differently. And if you're going to Essen, just come by the booth and get a demo and maybe get a copy.
I can vouch for David in that, like, yeah, you might work for CMON, but I don't think I've seen you this excited about any other CMON. Like, this is a game I think you would have been excited about regardless, just because it is right up your alley.
100%. I would have absolutely been on board. If you just said that from the designer of Faraway, right. I'd be like, this is a small box game that I want to get. And again, we've talked about this as it relates to Gen Con. There's a lot of small box games coming out, and I didn't have these listed on when we talked about honorable mentions, but we've also got Faust versus Mephisto here. A Carnivore Did It, which is this interesting sort of like deduction game, very similar to a logic puzzle in Blueprints, which Ryan and I were both obsessed with earlier this year. And then I believe Rolly is going to be coming out at Essen. This was one I got a chance to play at Gen Con, and I think we talked about it in our Gen Con wrap-up. Really fun game in the ilk of like a Flip 7 in that it kind of feels like gambling, even though it's not gambling. Yeah. But it has a lot of those same sort of moments at the table. And then there's a couple bigger ones that were honorable mentions too.
Yeah, one of them, it only made my honorable mentions because there's not a lot of information out there. There is a rule book. It's heavy. It's called Skybridge. And this is from Deep Print, which is another company that I tend to follow. I really like their games. I don't know much about Skybridge, though. It's got fantasy races, asymmetric powers, decks of cards for these different factions.
It looks very thematic. If I didn't know any better, I would say it looks like it's based on an IP. If you look at the components, there's all these different factions that feel reminiscent of like Dune. All these player boards with this like very specific art with different types of characters representing these different kingdoms or these different sort of groups that are all, and I think everyone's building the Skybridge. I think the Skybridge acts as a thing that you all contribute to.
Like collaboratively building it.
Triggers the end of the game, and then whoever has the most points, I want to say they're called power points at the end. So think things like Game of Thrones, I think in terms of the world.
Space and sci-fi.
But there's dragons, I think.
It's like a sci-fi fantasy mashup.
Sci-fi, maybe like Krull. Is that a callback for all you youngsters out there?
You know, for all I know, this is based like this is Europe. This could be everyone over there is like, yeah, Skybridge based on the comics. I mean,
oh yeah, that's true.
Who knows? I don't necessarily know.
If you know about Skybridge and it's something we're not familiar with, let us know in the comments below. The other one we mentioned earlier, and this is Pawnscape.
Yeah,
Pawnscape is another one from Thomas Holuk. I think I'm pronouncing your name correct. This one's pretty straightforward looking game. This gave me sort of, it's a card game, and you're building a card grid, kind of like Think Earth, but also like mechanically, it feels like the same sort of puzzle that you'd be trying to solve in things like Cascadia or Calico, games like that, but with cards and frogs. All these different frogs that you're putting out, and some frogs want this, some other frogs want that, and you're trying to place them in your grid of a tableau to try to balance as much scoring opportunity as possible.
All right, I want to do one honorable mention. I'm calling it audible, only because I don't know if this game is going to be any good. But it's called
honorable.
It's called Pulitzer. I don't know if I talked to you about this briefly. I don't even know if the game is good, but the idea that this is maybe the first game I've seen. The game has like this like almost like corkboard feel, and you have a literal string. And you're investigating all these different journalistic, investigations, and you're connecting things together with a string. I think it looks cool.
Is that how you win the Pulitzer Prize?
Well, by being a good journalist.
Oh yeah, I guess investigating.
That's investigating and the goal of writing. I just think it's a cool mechanic.
I'm calling audible number 2.
Oh boy.
Because you brought up Pulitzer and it's about publishing. There's a game called Magazine.
Oh yeah,
and we
just got that,
and it's from Mandu, people who do Veil of Eternity. One of, if not my favorite game of all time. And it looks really cool. This definitely looks like a very medium weight Euro. We've got it here. I don't think we're going to get it played before Essen. But this will be one that we try to get played right after Essen. And hopefully after Essen, after we're back, we'll get as many of these played and get up some just playeds and maybe some reviews on a lot of these games. I know Jeremy Howard has had his hands on a few games recently that he's been working on some reviews, so he'll be posting some stuff pretty soon too. But that today is our most anticipated list for Essen, with some honorable mentions,
Well,
and with some.
you can tell it was a big
more
list.
than 10. Yeah, and we actually carved a few.
I mean, I had
still
like
off.
I started my list with like 20 names on there.
Yeah, and we might, if there's time, we might do a much shorter video for our most anticipated expansions.
Yeah, we left those off this list.
There
entirely.
are some expansions. I'm not even going to say one of them right now, so that we can do a video. But we'll probably do like 5 expansions in another video. But if you have any questions about our lists for Essen, or if you have some Essen games that you're anticipating and you're like, why on earth could you not have this on your list? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.